Hey, pilot, welcome to Ready for Pushback. I'm Nik Fialka. Today, I have a special guest back again, Jimmy, the anonymous guest. And anytime somebody wants to talk about something where they don't want their name put out, if you listen to some of my older shows, there's always a character named Jimmy. Well, this person named Jimmy is a recruiter from a major airline. And we go through all of the different intricacies of what it's like to do a meet and greet, what it's like to do an interview, how to go to a convention, how to be prepared, pitfalls, you name it. We talk about everything. This is going to be one of the most successful episodes. If you know somebody that's in the hunt for an airline job, share this episode with them. It is full of amazing information. So let's get to it, all right? Sit back, relax. Let's get ready for Pushback.
Most pilots don't understand what career opportunities are available in the world of aviation. They're making career decisions based on advice from friends or posts on internet forums, meaning they are taking huge risks with their livelihood without having all the details. This podcast was created to help you understand the aviation industry so you can find your dream job. Let's get ready for Pushback. Here's your host and my dad, Nik Fialka.
All right, Jimmy, welcome back to the show, my man.
Hey, Nick. How are you?
I'm good. I guess I can't really say welcome back to the show, but welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's my first time, I guess. First time caller, if you will.
Yeah, man. So you are a recruiter at a major airline. Talk to me about how you got into that role.
I think, it started at the regionals. I had a good buddy that kind of mentored me going through there. And it honestly just fell in my lap. It wasn't something I was pursuing. It wasn't something I was going for. It was just it was really just the classic, my friends are doing it, so I went in it as well. And one thing I'd like to know that I really liked, I'd made some friends for life on that one, on the previous airline. And then I kind of the same networks that were at that airline elevated itself to a major airline, and I found myself easily channeled through those same people to go to this airline's recruiting department. So it was super cool. I did not seek it or even know much about it until I was kind of involved in it myself. So
when you guys are going to go to some kind of event and there'll be kind of a gaggle of you going out there, do you have kind of a pregame meeting? Hey, we're looking for this, we're looking for that. That does happen. Some of the staff heads of the recruiting kind of come out and just kind of, because you have to tailor it to the event that you're going to go do. So obviously there's a kind of a candidate profile when you're working specific events throughout the year. They are, and I'll be honest, in this major airline, there are no, we are looking for this many hours and this many, and it must meet this criteria or we're not talking to them. Those meet and greets are really candidly about the applicant's personality. It's the first barrier before we're ready to interview them for, aircraft competency or airline knowledge or anything like that, or their previous, turbine time technical capabilities. It's the first speed date is what it is. And they're really big on just, before we elevate them to the next level, we just got to get them through a 5 to 7 minute speed date personality feel. That's really what it is. And what are you looking for? What are you talking to them about?
Yeah, a couple things that were kind of briefed on us. Surprisingly, eye contact was one, and the ability to articulate their thoughts well, quickly, concisely, efficiently, intelligently, and moving through, obviously the pitch of tell me about yourself, tell me a little bit about yourself. And if they can do that, you can tell when someone has rehearsed it or have even put thought into it, and you can tell who just gives you a deer in the headlights. I don't know what to say about this. And I'm just going to start rambling a conscious stream of like a stream of consciousness of anything at that point. And you're just there taking it in, going, okay. And then they did give us kind of pointers on how to like keep that going. Like, well, that's interesting. Moving on. Here's the things like that. So
so you got 5 or 7 minutes with them. The introduction, do you feel like, man, I'd rather just a couple minutes, or people drag on for 5, 7, 8, 9 minutes?
Yeah, the time management is crucial, because as you know, those meet and greet lines can wrap around a hallway, and there's hours upon hours of waiting, and each airline has their own strategy on how to manage that via just a little ticket you get, or a thing on your phone, or waiting in line and things like that. So time management's pretty crucial. So we do have to, like, at some point kind of pause and have a very candid, like, all right, well, that's really interesting. Thanks for coming. Anything else you'd like to ask me? And things like that. So yeah, it gets pretty important.
Are you looking at the resume when they walk up?
Yeah. So there's a nice system where kind of the frontline staff has all the resumes stacked up as they're like in a gaggle, waiting, approaching like their meet and greet. One of the recruiters will get handed a resume. So before that meet and greet actually happens, the recruiter or the meet and greeter has the resume in hand, going it from top to bottom in about, I'd say, 2 to 3 minutes, kind of getting a literature review of that resume before they're ready. They give the thumbs up to the front staff, and then the front staff calls that individual over and then walks them over, and we meet at the table and start at that point. So that way that way I'm not just like, like meeting you face to face, and also you're handing me a resume. Now it's like, okay, now I have to read and get to know you at the same time. So it makes it easier that way.
What are you looking for on a resume? What kind of things stand out?
Oh, yeah. First, I would say the first thing is just really good penmanship. Like a good, organized resume. And I thought that, that comes as no surprise, right? But the way you organize your resume is also like an extension of it's all we got, right? Besides meeting you. So it's your broadcast to the world when you show that you don't know how to manage your margins, or use big caps in front, or use Comic Sans. I don't know. These things have happened. Or one that's in landscape instead of portrait. These things have happened, and it's funny now, but it's like really a landscape, or multi-page, or messy, or just, and you're just like, this is okay. It would seem obvious to have like a coached, well thought out, proofread resume, but it's also, you're not in their shoes. This could be their first time. This could be their first time in an interview environment. So the meet and greets aren't also just, all right, let's see if this person's going. It could just be very well a counseling session too. Just be like, hey, before, I hope you keep coming to these. Hey, word of advice. And then let's give you 5 minutes of free resume coaching at that point. Why not? Just make it something productive at least. So we're not there to be like, this resume is garbage. See you next time. No, we'll heartfeltly like get into them and be like, hey, I would do this if I were you with this resume, and really hope that they improve. And we've actually had people that have come back, like, we'll write notes afterwards and be like, resume needed some work, comes back to another conference, resume was greatly improved, showing great progress. We're really liking this person. Let's elevate them up to another rating. So it works out pretty good.
So you have not like crumpled one in front of somebody and just dropped it?
Yeah, like this. Just tear it from like one half down, and like just tear it down and hand it to them too.
I think you know where we're going here.
Yeah, I think
Actually, I do have a story of I
Yeah.
was at one of the conventions, and a lot of times I'll look at somebody's resume and they'll ask for tips, and our Spitfire team is always doing
Yes.
resume reviews there. And a guy walks up and handed me 7 pages stapled together.
I've seen those. Yeah.
I tore the first page off and I handed him the 6 back, and I said, "Does this tell me everything I need to know?" And he says, "No." And I said, "All right." And then I spent some time circling. I'm like, "Hey, look, condense this out. You know, I know you've been doing your thing for 30 years and you're real cool, but you know, and I love the military guys that they'll use a huge thing for awards, like a huge piece of their
every award down their profile.
That's right. But every single one of them are like sharpshooter or, you know, GWAT or something like that.
Yeah.
But I have had guys with like distinguished flying crosses with a V and things like that. I'm like, yes,
definitely.
Absolutely. If you did something for valor, like, yes, it should certainly be on your resume.
National defense.
Yes, that's the McDonald's one. That's the McDonald's
the ketchup and mustard ribbon. Yeah. But, you know, it's funny you say that because I do see resumes and look, like, you don't know which meet and greeter you're going to get. So, hey, if it lines up that you're military and your meet and greeter's military, then, hey, the stars lined up. Like, that's great. They're going to read your resume and know, you know, at a different depth than a person with not a military background that reads this, because that does happen. We'll have a meet and greeter that gets a C-17 pilot or a U-2 pilot, and it's like, hey, and it'll be a quick like, hey, Rick, you were in the Air Force. What's this mean right here? And they do powwow together and kind of go. And if there is a resume that's clearly Navy, hey, we're going to find our Navy meet and greeter. We're going to find our Marine Corps, you know, meet and greeter. So that does happen. So, because it would be unfair to just be like, I don't know what any of this means. Is this good or bad? You know?
Yeah. I would also say a tip for the interviewee is that no matter who you get, you've got to roll with it and be gracious about it, because if a military person gets a civilian resume in front of them and they don't know specifically about one thing or another, the gracious way to thread that needle is just to explain how what you've done, how it is important, and kind of emphasize on that, and they'll get it. And
absolutely, yeah. There's a way to, like, even if when they're unfamiliar with something, whether it be military on civilian or civilian on military, hey, that's your chance to kind of go into a little bit of a candid instructional mode and just kind of pitch and sell, like, hey, this is important because you know, your background may not be familiar with this, but this is Gold Star CFI, and let me tell you why. I had a substantial amount of pilots that passed their check rides and their sign-offs from the DPE, and I got awarded this award from the FAA, and you're like, oh man, nice, that's good stuff, you know. So, you know,
I remember when I learned about that, and I thought, oh, that's what a thing.
Yeah. And it also sounded kind of corny at first, like Gold Star, like, what are you, 10? Then you realize that's actually not easy to do. So
yeah, absolutely. And there's so many things, like, and it's even on the certificate, it's a different color. It's a Gold Star.
It totally is. And you know what? And I love the 1,500 hour, you know, the CFI sluggers out there. You know, growing up in a different background in aviation, I got more and more familiar with that. And it's like, man, they really work hard for those hours. You know, out there eating, you know, Jersey Mike sandwiches, going up in a Cessna and slugging it out and making it happen. That's deep appreciation for them too. Along with our military, so
yeah. Jersey Mike's is for the instructors, like the students are eating ramen. So.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
How does a civilian pilot that's banging out hours, that's doing the CFI thing, and they feel like they are just like everybody else? Like, how do they stand out?
Yeah, that's a good. It's a multifaceted, definitely question, because I feel like airline hiring is just like, you know, a volatile stock market. You know, like this year they were looking for this, and this year they're looking for this, and then it's a wave that keeps going. It's like a sine wave. You're just always trying to
you're trying to catch it at the top and all that. But since I would say, since you can't control the market, right? None of us can predict when the next hot stock pick is going to be. You can only control how much you fly and what you do outside of flying. And that and for example, involvement in certain community, involvements, which are super, super important too, by the way, because we know that you can't control like what we want, what people want in hours, like this many hours, and that, and turbine PIC, of course, like all you can control is safely flying, getting hours in the aircraft that you can get feasibly. So the only other way, another way, for example, would be to get involved in mentoring, community involvement, volunteer work, and quality volunteer work, not just, it's very easy to see when you see a resume, it says like community involvement, and they just put down the convention that they're at or went to, and like, that's it. It's like, that's very easy to know that, hey, volunteer work, OBAP, or did you go there? Did you pay the ticket to just show up? Or did you do something, so it's very easy. And I think they check that off the box and they go, I was at that convention, done. It's like, okay.
Yeah. One of our coaches, Travis, he is the guy that runs security for OBAP. And and it's big, like it's a lot of things going on, and he's like the beef that like takes care of all the muckety mucks at OBAP, and that's the thing that kind of separated him for his interview. Like, oh man, this is like you're a little white guy who is the head of security at OBAP. Like, why are you doing that? And he's like, because I love this, because this is the best organization. And he just goes into it. And so I love that. Like, talk to me about some really interesting volunteer stuff you've seen.
I have seen someone come across, and they, a girl that came in, women in aviation, and you're like, cool, women in aviation, and it just keeps going on. Like, so it's not just the bulletized volunteer work. I do women in aviation. It's I'm on the chapter staff, and I do women in STEM public speakings at local high schools every quarter. You're like, oh, okay. Like, you're up there on stage. You are rehearsed and ready to go, and you're interacting with high school kids, girls and boys that dream about becoming pilots. And you're like, and immediately when I see something like that, I'm like, whoa, you're clearly a better person than me. when you can do that to your meet and greet or just do community service where you're like, oh, well, you win.
Yes. Well, okay, let me ask you this. Yeah. Why does that matter if you're just going to close the door in an Airbus 320 and head out to Oregon?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And it's kind of the same thing when, hey, everyone's got their different levels of involvement. And we're not saying one is better than the other. It's who you are. So no one is trying to make you volunteer, right? It's just an attractor, right? In lieu of flight hours. So if you want to be the line flying pilot that goes to a regional or goes to an intermediate and flies the line, that's fine. That's okay. Same thing why I got involved with it in the regionals and in a major with recruiting. I genuinely liked it for the friends I was around first, and that's what I liked first. It gave me a sense of, hey, I'm not just flying the line. I'm doing a little bit more. And it starts to open up your view on a company to go, okay, well, I like the flying. I love the flying. That's why I do this. But I also like the operation. I like where it goes. I like seeing a handle and visibility on where this company is going and all that. So there's something to be said about somebody that gets, extra dimensional in their industry and gets to enjoy that. Because it would seem that those types of people become, I guess, for a candid term, a force multiplier. They become more than just flying the line. They can see themselves flying the line and being involved in uniforms for the union or in LOSA or for the airline. Those are the types of people that become LOSA observers, check airmen, union volunteers, and you become a force multiplier, meaning that person simply outputs more than it costs to have them on board. And if that answers that question.
Yeah. And it makes the company better. It makes the pilot group better.
Yeah.
It lifts up.
And that becomes contagious. The positivity that brings in, and you know, it's like a droplets of water. You get that person in, you get that person in, that person volunteers, and you just get a good quality herd from there. So I think.
So let's switch gears a little. Yeah. How about, depending on this is kind of an evergreen podcast, right? Yeah. So this is going to be dropped and it's going to be published. And at some point in the future, people are going to listen to this and it's going to be a great economy or a terrible economy. People are hiring or not hiring. It's going to be just like you talked about the sine waves and stuff. Let's talk about the military side of the house.
Yeah.
What you've got, in my mind, there are some buckets of military aviators. There's the younger bucket that's just gotten through their first contract and they're headed out. These days, those people have probably been in 12 to 14 years, unless they air guard, which is a little different. But and then you've got another bucket of guys that are just hitting 20 from like 20 to 23 that have decided to get out there. And then you've got this last bucket, which are the 30-year, like the 06s, the 28s to 30s that are there. How do you separate yourself there? How do you not just come off as some guy with a bad haircut?
That's true. Nik, those are great profiles you went with. I guess we can start with each section here. So, yeah, I don't know if there's a sweet spot for each one because, hey, your profile of when you decided to leave the military and go and be interested in the airlines happens when it happens to you, and it can happen when you're a younger tier 7, 8 year, just getting into your 10th year into the forces, and then you're interested in flying. So your hours are going to be lower for sure. Conversely, the guy that's been in, the guy or gal that's been in 20 plus years has had command experience, commanding officer, working at the Pentagon and things like that. That's going to be great too. Their hours might be higher, but their recency might not be as well. So we do run into recency issues where, hey, we have an F-15 pilot, works at the Pentagon, hasn't flown in, a couple of years. Where are we looking with that? Versus the younger military aviator, we're like, hey, they're doing a lot of work right now. They're flying, but flight hours just historically don't have the time that would be more attractive. But here they are, but they just flew like a minute ago. So what separates them two is similarly, obviously the one that the senior military pilot is going to have great leadership experience for sure. If they did that, and we can tell, we can tell if they've flown or if they've been a commanding officer. Those things are important too. I mean, we don't know. That's certainly an attractor. Anyone with command experience is going to stand out for sure. So a military pilot with years under their belt, maybe the recency might not be there because of their staff duties or things, staff tours. Hey, we're going to look at command experience, leadership, real work, because you're talking in the realm of an equivalent to a chief pilot, a director of flight, and things like that. So that really stands out for a person that's been flying a long time. Conversely, the person that's kind of green on, newer and younger and flying, all the time, we're looking for those technical qualifications, and we're pretty well versed in knowing if a person has gotten the quals that the acumen that's kind of commensurate towards that time period. So if they're getting their aircraft commander time, if they're not getting their aircraft commander time within a certain, pretty soon. That's going to raise like, hey, well, when are you up? And we understand every model in the military is different. It's a little different to get aircraft commander here. It takes more steps, but aircraft commander, PIC, that small unit kind of leadership and is important. And for the senior guys or gals, got a lot of hours under the belt. Recency might be an issue, but their command experience and leadership roles equivalent to chief pilot, director of ops is pretty important too. So,
can you tell if a person is a Spitfire client?
I am pretty good at picking it up. Yes.
Why?
Yeah. Hey, hey, I can't, with an interest and all that, I think it's great. I can immediately tell, when someone is prepared by Spitfire. Their resume is tight. It's just, I wouldn't say it's a similar format. I think you guys are good at keeping it organic to that person. But from top to bottom, I can read a resume and go, yeah, this has been one of the few coaching organizations out there, and I can tell right away, which is great. And it's a good thing. It's not it's good because it shows that person cares enough to get themselves into a system that has been proven to work. But yes, you can tell because their resume and the way they appear and their interaction is pretty well thought out. So it's good. Yeah. Mm. But it's not 100%. I can just tell sometimes. I'm like, So, and I actually like to ask, so have you been using anyone to prepare? I'm like, well, I'm on Spitfire. It's a candid conversation. There's nothing wrong. No, nothing gets there's no asterisk that goes in and goes, this person's a Spitfire client. But it really is pretty organic. But the first thing is the resume. The next thing is how they appear and look, for sure. Yeah.
Give me an example of a good appearance and a not so great appearance.
Good. Let's see. I think each convention obviously has its own, I know certain ones are a little more laid back and dress code and all that, but hey, if you're going there for the airline you're looking for, and that convention doesn't require you to dress a certain way, like, hey, for that interview, for that meet and greet, if that elevates to something more promising, hey, you got to be ready, to dress for that occasion. Good one is, hey, a guy or gal just dressed, office, good, a suit, I'm not saying like a full suit, but like, all the neatness, the professionalism, the well-dressed for like a good corporate environment, obviously is sharp. You can tell when the details put in, the accessories, the ironing, the tie clip, the little, all those little, but those things take work. And conversely, you can tell when someone just rolled out of a target run and showed up and they're looking kind of like a disaster. And it's, and there's, again, we're really big on being welcoming because we don't know what anyone's background is. We don't know what it took to get that person there, and we don't know everyone's background on it. But
I'm going to say turtlenecks are out of the question.
If you roll in with a black turtleneck and with confidence, I think that's good.
Sleeveless.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. There's different, I want to kind of step back there and kind of sharpen that point. One thing you said is if a convention has a vibe that's kind of a business casually vibe, but you have an interview, bring your suit to be ready.
Yes, that is, bring your suit, bring your logbooks, be ready to go because you don't know at any moment when that can happen. So
yeah, man. And you guys, I mean, it's like a machine. There's so much from start to finish. If it's a 2-day conference, you're on the floor from sun up to sundown.
Yeah. And hey, the staff does an incredible job. Someone has definitely been taking Lean Six Sigma classes because seriously, it's corny as it sounds, but because like every convention just gets a little more refined on like how we're going to corral this line and how we're going to give numbers out and how we're going to do this. And it just gets a little more refined because I remember mine like 5 years ago, it was line wrapped around outside in the hot sun and waters are being like passed around and we're all trying to like survive. And it's like, and it just every year just gets a little better and a little better. So
yeah, that's gold. That's absolutely gold. So for those that have never been to a conference, usually there's some kind of event, one or like maybe a couple nights, maybe just one night, and there are multiple events. We usually hold something that's like a big, huge event, and a lot of times
Spitfire does. That's what we're saying.
Spitfire.
I got it.
And oftentimes recruiters and directors of hiring and things like that will attend as part of just being part of the community.
Of course.
Have you ever seen anything go sideways at one of those events?
I personally have not. No, and that's just my own a take. I haven't seen. I think those are cool. And yes, those are things. Those are probably places to be a little more aware of your surroundings, I would imagine. Because look, I think it's great. Like, I think, hey, this is a community, right? Nick, you're at Spitfire, and you're at your airline. I'm at my airline. But we're all still going to be friends, right? We can't stop. We can't pretend to like not see each other. Oh, hello there. But so I'm all for that, But I can imagine for an applicant to to aspire to be in a legacy and then be at one of those conventions. Yeah, I would imagine there'd be this awareness factor that you have to up and go, okay, I'm at an event, people are being social, there may be drinking, like it's probably not the time to go streaking on the front street or something. Or maybe, it could be really impressive. Who knows?
You gotta read the room.
Yeah, read the room on that one for sure. Yeah. Have you seen anything or?
I have seen, yes, I go to a bunch, right? And I have seen a couple of times somebody act a fool.
Yeah.
The one I really see is the lack of social awareness. If you're speaking to somebody and there's maybe they were in a conversation ahead of time and you kind of butt yourself in and take over the conversation, it can be annoying and frustrating, especially if you were, for instance, like I'm not telling anybody not to come and chat with me because I want to talk to everybody. But I have seen other interactions with other people where somebody is speaking to a person and another person butts in, doesn't get it, and you can see that the recruiter is looking for help, is like looking around the room like somebody save me, and it's tricky because you want to be gracious as a person to speak to a candidate. You want to be gracious and you want to be, you want to love on everybody. But you've got it's just annoying. It's just annoying.
Nick, yeah, actually, when you said it, have you seen things go sideways? I was definitely thinking a little bit more on the extreme side.
I've seen keg stands.
Yeah, well, that's also
I've seen that.
I think it's wonderful.
I feel like that's not where we want to go.
Hey, there's a thin line between being impressive and being jaw dropping. But actually, you really kind of triggered something that I do remember, and it happens. It seems to be recurring a lot at these social settings, at these conventions, these post event, or these side events that happens where we all meet up. There's a social or something like that. You're 1,000% right there. I've had that happen as well, where I'm talking to someone and we're just chatting away at some side story, and I've absolutely seen a person just kind of, I get it. They're nervous. They're coming in and they just kind of like beeline in, interrupt the conversation flow, and they're like still in meet and greet mode. And all of a sudden they're giving you this like pitch on who they are and what they're doing, and like kind of one-upping the other person. It's like, well, what are you doing? And then you're just taking it in because everyone's kind of like, it's not organic. It's not genuine. You're just like, okay, that's great. That's how many carrier landings did you have? Wow, that's impressive. Like
you weren't even in the military.
We were talking about hamburgers over here. Like we were talking about, like nothing related at all. You're just like, yeah. So yeah, I would definitely advise against that for sure on those. Absolutely, yeah. Definitely social. Hey, social intelligence is an emotional intelligence. I think it's something we are all judgy as humans, and whether we're at Target or whether we're at the airport or whether we're anywhere, we're always judging each other to some degree. And I think social intelligence and emotional intelligence is always something that you're displaying all the time. So,
I do want to bring the point up that I am not saying don't come up and say hi. 100%.
Totally right. Yeah. And that's what
this is for when we're out there and you're in public view and I want to go see you and I come up and bother your neck all the time, it's that's what we're doing, and I'm just seeing you to say hi, and some, you're saying hi to somebody, but I don't need anything from somebody. I'm just here to see you. But some people come up to you. It's very easy to see that is it a genuine hi or is it a I want something from you hi kind of thing,
Yeah. When I'm walking around, so I'll spend a good portion of my time at the booth meeting people, talking to people, helping people how I can. And then I will start walking around and just chatting with people. But then I'll see my recruiter friends that are actively recruiting and doing their things, and the directors and all that. And I want to go say hi. And so I look, I do the same thing. I watch, I wait, I look for like a little bit of space. I make a little eye contact. I'm like, thumbs up. I come in, we get a hug, we say,
absolutely.
And then I'm aware, like, okay, get back to work, get out of here. I'll talk to you later.
I love it when you do that, actually, because it is like a social battery recharge. You're just like, oh yes, a real,
It's true. Like you're like, oh, I'm not alone on this stand-up table.
Absolutely.
With a tiny little chair. It's true. But that's the good part. Like that's the fun part. And also what I love, honestly, for the participants of the convention that are looking for a job is their ability to meet other like-minded pilots that are doing the same thing and just getting their community growing. And that's so fun too.
It is. I truly do love how where this is going in that direction. Like I said, we can't control the market. We don't know what's going to happen next quarter, the quarter after that. But the people and the culture, and that's something that you can control based on the quality of people that you have around you. The people you surround yourself with and the people you go to conventions with. I love seeing when they come in groups. And they just go out together and they come back and they prep each other up. I remember watching, I was going up the stairs in the hotel and we'll come down and watching like one kid fix the other guys, like, Ty's like, all right, man, you got this. Like, you just prepping them. I'm just like, oh, yes. Like, that's it. Like, yes. Like,
that's it. It's all for one.
So cool. Right? I think it's awesome.
It is awesome. It's a good, like, we're really lucky to be in this world, to be a part of, because we don't have to give it up. I talk to people. Like, people are like, why do you do this? I'm like, man, it's like never leaving the squadron. It's like never leaving.
1,000%. Yeah, absolutely. Because you do run into and I'm sure you do too. You run into people from your old units and people that you've seen before. And it also becomes like a little reunion. It's memories you've forgotten you had from like a fleet tour or something like that. And you're like, oh my gosh, you're here. Like, this is so great. Like, this is, so it's super cool.
I remember, dude, so you may not know, but back in 2012, I got cancer and like, it wasn't really a big deal, but one of the only people that called me was this guy named Vince, who had heard about it, and he called me, and it was very unusual for him to call me because he's senior to me. And I was like, something's wrong. And I call and he's like, hey man, I was just checking on you. And it was the nicest thing. So fast forward, like RTAG 2020, I don't know, 3 or something, all of a sudden, like he's standing in front of me and he's like, hey man, I like your show. And I hadn't seen that guy since like forever. And it was like, I'll never forget him reaching out to me and calling me. And that to me was one of the like seminal moments of my life. And I get to see him again and get to be part of his life. And we only saw each other for like 3 minutes, and he had to disappear into the ether and go find his job. But like that's the beauty of what we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man. Yeah. All right. Last chance. What is the biggest tip that you would give to somebody that's going to go to a meet and greet and stand in front of you?
It sounds so arbitrary, but just be yourself. It really is. It's almost a kind of an oxymoron, but being really good at being your genuine self. And there's nothing wrong with that. That really is. Coming in, holding your breath, trying to be a person you're not is an easy tell, but coming in, showing your personality as if we were meeting in some other office environment and you being yourself goes a long way. Relaxed, lots of eye contact and asking questions at the end is super cool.
Why do you like being at this airline? When it becomes more of a two-way conversation, that will make your meet and greet stand out well a lot, because it's not me or a meet and greeter asking you questions and me checking off a clipboard to see if you have what it takes. That's not at all what this is. This is a two-way street. So when someone comes with questions to ask why you like this airline, or what's your favorite thing about this job, wow, it turns it around to a nice so good two-way, relaxed, genuine personality showing is works amazing wonders, by the way. So yeah. And if I can just throw in one more thing, Nick, we're huge advocates for making people feel at ease and welcome to come to these. And this gets brought up at every, little huddle before we go out to the floor and go out and do our meet and greets. Our bosses, our staff are genuinely aware and caring that when these people come, the first thing we do is we thank them and we mean it when they come to these conventions, because as we all know, it is a lot to do. To mentally get yourself committed to put that date on the calendar, to book the flights, get the hotel, buy the clothes, spend the money. I mean, this stuff adds up. It is not just, I'm going to breeze by, Papa next month, in June, and I'm just going to see what happens. No, you're going to do so much to prepare and get yourself started. It is all those things that fall in the shadow that I got to buy that thing, and I got to get my logo, I got to get my suit, I got to get, I got to go online and keep up with everything. And that all goes, that does not go unseen. And it's super appreciated by the staff. So when you get there, we totally know that it took a lot for you to get to that moment, and we recognize it and we thank everyone for that. So,
well, Jimmy, thank you for the conversation, man. All right, pilots, that's the episode. I hope you've really enjoyed it. But before you go, do me a quick favor, subscribe to my show and leave me a review. Give me a 1-star review if it was totally worthless. Give me a 5-star review if it was the most amazing thing you've ever heard. I want to hear from you. So if you can give me a review, subscribe to the podcast, make yourself a little bit better, I will be happy. You'll be happy. We'll keep crushing. I cannot wait to see you on the next episode.